All right, I want to welcome everybody to our second live session for week 3. It is Tuesday, April 4th, and we have a lot to go over today in terms of demos that I'm going to do. So if you're watching this at home, I hope that you're having a good day or a good morning, maybe even a good evening. I don't have a lot in terms of announcements today. Let me just jump in, and I just want to reiterate that the Facebook template for week 3's assessment is located in the announcements. So you'll need to download that zip file. That's where you can find that. Hi, Crystal. I'm glad you're able to make it today. So that's where that is located. You will need to download that file in order to create your assessment for this week. Something got mixed up and it's missing from the assessment tab. So just to let you know, you need to go into that announcement to get that template. That's how you will be creating your assessment. Today we're going to go over creating our Facebook profile picture and our cover picture mockup. And then we're also going to go over our website homepage mockup. And then if we have some time after doing that, we'll do a quick review of yesterday's live session. We'll go over the aesthetics and web design again, some web design tips, and a little bit of a recap of that mobile versus responsive websites. So quick reminder about my telephone hours. They are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Mountain Time to 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and you can email me during that time or outside of that time. Also, reminder on due dates, all assignments and assessments are due by Saturday at midnight for full credit. I do accept late work. However, there will be a 20% deduction on the grade. So that means you'll be starting at an 80%. So please make every attempt to get your work in on time. If you are missing any assignments, please get them in ASAP. Your time is running low. We're midway through week 3. So you don't want to go all the way up to week 4 without submitting those late assignments. And again, week 4 assignments and missing discussion posts cannot be turned in late. Your original discussion post for this week is due by tomorrow night at midnight, and you need to respond to 2 of your fellow students' original discussion posts by Saturday, and make sure that you're posting on 2 different days. So again, just another reminder of our schedule. The live sessions are Mondays and Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Mountain Time. This gives you ample time during the week to get the assignments done. If you do need any outside help, the Student Success Center is open with tutoring available. No appointment is necessary, and Christy's, her hours are posted in the announcements as well. She's our learning coach for this mod. Okay, I just wanted to go over how to choose large images in Google, and this is more for people when I post the slides. If you do not remember how to do this, I added the slide in so you can see. First thing you would do is go to Tools, switch it to Large, and then you want to always check your usage rights and make sure that they're labeled for reuse if you are using images in for work or to submit in your portfolio. You want to make sure that that's labeled for reuse, the images that you are choosing. For this assignment, I'm not going to be as particular. I know it's a little bit difficult to find those large images for this assignment, but that's just a good rule of thumb going forward that you're going to want to do that. All right, so let's take a quick look at what needs to be done this week in terms of the assignment and the assessment. I'm going to work on the assessment first. You can work on either one first, but I just want to make sure that I really go over that Facebook template with you. So I'm going to work on the assessment first. So for assessment 3, social media is hugely influential in advertising campaigns. For this week's assessment, you're going to create 1 Facebook profile picture and 3 Facebook cover images that your city could use for your campaign. So you want to think about what would work best using the unique ratios of the Facebook imagery. You want to consider the relationships of the combined images, and you want to use the provided template to mock up the headings of your pages. And you're going to submit all 3 JPEGs. There will be 3 JPEGs in a single zipped folder. So each JPEG should have the same profile picture, but a different cover image. And if you're familiar with Facebook, you should know what that means, but either way, we'll go over that when we create our assessment. Then for the assignment, we're going to use the visuals that we've developed in weeks 1 and 2 to create a homepage for the ad campaign of our chosen city. You don't have to make the website active. You're just using Photoshop to mock up what the site might look like. That should actually be spelled differently. The specifications are to design this in Photoshop and size it at 1024 by 768. The page must have the following pages in the navigation bar. So those would be mock-ups of links in your navigation bar. Places to stay, dining, events, and shopping. So those are the 3 hyperlinks that you should have in your navigation bar. And good rule of thumb, you would probably want to add a home page to that. So use the logo, tagline, and keep the feel cohesive with the rest of your campaign. Remember to use quality images and keep the homepage very visual and easy to navigate. And remember those examples that we looked at yesterday. So you don't want to reinvent the wheel of how a website would be navigated, but you definitely want to, you want a lot of great images on there, and you want it to logically make sense where things are located. So I'm also providing this link right here. It's a link that I will end up using today to download some subtle patterns that I'm going to use in my background of probably my Facebook profile picture and the background of my website. So I just wanted to supply that for you. When I post the link to the slides, you'll be able to get right to that hyperlink. It's to this website called Subtle Patterns. It's really great. Like, I'll show you how to load the patterns into Photoshop today and how you can use them as the background in your website. All right, so let's get started in Photoshop. Like I said, I'm gonna work on the assessment first today. And the reason behind that is this template, if you're not used to using templates like this, it can be a little bit tricky. So let's just, hold on. Open up that template. So when you download it, again, make sure that you're making a folder for what week you're in. So we're in week 3, and a folder for your assessment and a folder for your assignment. So as you can see, I've downloaded the Facebook zip file, and I've unzipped it. And inside is this pitch stock Facebook brand page mockup.psd. That's a mouthful for sure. So that is what you are going to start with. So open that PSD file up, and the first thing that you should do is save it with the correct file naming convention. If you do not remember the correct naming convention for the files, you can refer back to the announcements. I had posted an announcement of how you needed to name everything. It was during week 1, so you're going to have to scroll down. There we go. And this is an assessment, so I'm going to copy this one. And change it to week 3. As McNamara. And I'm going to put it outside of that folder and click Save. Okay. So this is what I mean about this template being a little bit different. You'll notice that there's a lot of smart objects. If you hover over them, that's how you can tell that they're smart objects. They say they're literally called smart objects. If you're not sure which layer is which, go to your Move tool, and you can right-click, and it will show you what the different layers are. So there's there's a lot of different layers here, right in this particular section, but the top layer is this profile picture. Underneath it is the profile picture white border. So it goes in it literally goes in the layers, the level of layers that you're in. Then you have cover image, which is behind that, browser Facebook page, which is behind that, and then base, page background, background room, white, blah, blah, blah. So if you need to get right to this profile picture layer and you're not quite sure over in the layers palette which one it is, like I said, go to where you need to go and right click, and you can click on profile picture and it will bring you to the correct layer in Photoshop. So that's a little tip that's, or tip or trick that's really helped me out, especially when I'm working in multiple layers and I'm like, number one, I always label my layers so this, I don't get confused when I'm working, because I'm sure, as you know, when you're working in Photoshop, the layers can mount up very quickly. So that's just a little trick to get you right to the layer that you need. So I am going to, right where the bounding box of the square, the thumbnail is, I'm going to double click, and it's going to open up this box right here. And it says double click to add your profile picture here. So this is the exact size that I need my profile picture to be. But you'll notice that there's a bright green square. So I'm going to turn off that bright green square because I definitely don't want a bright green background. It's not going to work with my nice beach theme that I've come up with. I am, however, going to open up my libraries, because if you remember during week 1, I saved my my color schemes. Get rid of that. I saved my color schemes from Adobe Color right here in my DES 245 library. And then during week 2, when I finished my finalized logo, I saved that in my library as well. So I can drag it right in to my profile picture here, because I want my logo to be part of my profile picture on my Facebook page. But if I just drop it in by itself, it's kind of boring, just all alone here, and it's kind of small. So chances are good that that's going to be a very boring profile picture. And if you've been to Facebook and you've seen a page, you know that they put a lot of thought into their cover photos and into their profile pictures. So I want to add a little bit to my profile picture. So this is where that subtle backgrounds is going to come in. I'm going to go navigate over to that link, and I'm actually going to use this one because it looks like seashells. And you can see there's, gosh, how many pages? 42 pages of different backgrounds that you can look at. And there's pretty much, they're very subtle. That's the best thing. Although that one might work too. But I'm going to go with the first one. It kind of reminds me of seashells in a way. I know it's not really seashells, but, it's kind of got a good vibe to it. This one right here, like kind of shell-esque or waves. All right, that works. So I'm just going to click the download button. And I'll bring it over into my assessments folder. I want to make sure that everything stays together. And I'm going to double click and unzip that. I'm going to create an images folder. I'm going to put it right in. So all of my images are together. I'm going to move that Facebook template in here. And I always want to keep the original template. So if I screw something up, that's why I did my save as immediately. So if I screw something up with that template, I can kind of go back to that original template and double check and see what I did wrong. So it's kind of it's a good system. All right, so I'm going to open that up in Photoshop, and you'll notice it might be a little bit hard to see that there are all these waves, but the waves aren't as big as they are here. And it's only a square. So how is that going to become my background? What I need to do is I actually need to define this as a pattern first. And I'm going to do a little bit of photoshopping to it before I do that. I want to change the background to kind of the sand color that I have in my library. So I'm going to make sure I'm clicked on the layer. I'm going to go to this FX button down here. And I'm going to go to color overlay. I'm going to click on that color. Come on. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to bring the opacity down. Maybe even try multiply. Maybe 30%. So it's more of a little bit of a sandy color. There we go. And I'll hit OK. But it's still nice and subtle. So it's not going to be overpowering behind my logo. Then once I've gotten it photoshopped in the color I want it to be and I've added my little effect, what I'm going to do is I am going to go up into Edit, Define Pattern. And it's going to name it whatever the file name is, and you can just leave it the file name. That's what I normally do. I just leave it the file name. And I'm going to hit OK. Now this is a defined pattern, which means that it's going to multiply, and as it multiplies, let me make a really big one so you can see. 22 by 6, that's great. We'll just go with that. If I go into Edit, Fill, and change it to Pattern, where it says Custom Patterns, I can click on the box right there and go find that pattern I just made, the second one down here. You can tell I use it a lot. And normal, opacity 100, click OK. Let me zoom really in. So you can see how it patterns itself all over that background, and it's a seamless pattern. So you don't actually have to make a seamless pattern. They're already made for you if you download one of those subtle patterns. So I'm going to add this to the background of my logo. So I'm going to name this layer background, and I'll name this artwork one. I'm going to name it logo. I should actually rename it right in here. Westport logo. There we go. So now when I drag it in, it'll be named Westport logo in my layer. So I'm going to go back to that background layer. I'm going to do the same thing I just did. I'm going to go to Edit, Fill, Pattern. It usually defaults to foreground color. Pattern. I'm going to select the custom pattern I made. I'm going to leave it at 100. Blend mode is normal. I'm going to say OK. And there it is. So I've got like kind of this, wave pattern going on behind my logo, which is good. And it makes my logo stand out a bit. I could even check out like maybe adding this wave to the bottom right here. Maybe bring this down here a bit. Or rename this wave so the same thing happens. There we go. I'm going to grab both of these. And I'm going to just skew this. So I'm going to hit Command T. Drag it down a little. And we'll see how I like that. Maybe add the wave to that too. I'm going to do something crazy right here. Color overlay, whoops, pattern overlay. I made a blue one, so I'm going to actually add the blue one right there. And going to give it a little bit of a bevel too. Just a little bit of a subtle bevel. There we go. So that stands out a little bit, you know, from being just a square with my logo in it. So once I like how this looks, might move the logo up just a smidge. It's kind of floating there in the center. I can hit save. And you'll notice it doesn't ask you to save anything. But watch what happens when you close it. Now my profile picture is in the profile picture box right here where it belongs, and it's down here where it belongs too. So it's moved my profile picture into both of those spaces. So it's all ready to go. So this is where this is a great template, because you're not trying to, you know, select inside this box and create your profile picture and, you know, make sure it fits exactly. It does it for you. The template does it for you. So that's why this is great. Let me just bring you over here. There we go. All right, so the next thing I'm going to change is I want to work with my cover photo. And remember, you need to make 3 cover photos. So your 3 cover photos should each have, you know, your headline, your tagline that you've come up with to advertise, you know, the tourism in your area. So you want to think through what, you know, kind of along the same lines of what you use for your billboard, because it's going to be a cohesive theme. You want everything to kind of go together. So when people see your billboard and they log into your Facebook page, it looks like they're in the right place. You know what I mean? So again, I'm going to right click and go to cover image. So I know I'm on the right layer. I'm going to double click again. It's going to bring up yet another green box that I'm going to turn off. And you can see it says profile pic occupies this area. You want to turn this layer on. It's not going to default on for you, but you definitely want to turn that layer on. So that way, when you're adding your text, you're aware of where it's going to fall with that profile picture. So you're not putting something really important back here. And you can turn off the green background. Now, this is where you need to start downloading those images again. So as you can see in Google, and if you refer back, this is a screenshot I took, so you can see, you need to go to images, change it to large, and make sure your usage rights are labeled for reuse. And that's all under the tools setting. So I've already done this. And I picked, before we got here, so I would be ready to go, 3 images I'm going to use that I think will work. So I'm going to do save image as, go into my assessments, into my images folder, and I'm going to name it Westport 1. Westport 2, and Westport 3. Let's get all those images there. So now when I go back to my folder, I can see, you know, right in my images, I can see the 3 that I've downloaded. Everything's together inside of this assessment folder. So I know where everything is at all times. And if I want to reuse these images, you know, for something else, like for my website background, you know, I can just copy and forward. I don't have to go looking all over my machine for them. So this is where, you know, having a system for your files really comes into play. So for this example, let me see. I'm going to go with this one because I'm only going to do one example for you guys. I'm not going to sit here and do all 3. So sometimes you can either copy and paste into this tab, or what you can do, let me save that, is you can go to Window, Arrange, and either tile all vertically or tile all horizontally, whichever one works best for you. And when you click on the one for, well, what mine says Westport 1, all I need to do is drag it into this box right here, and it's going to copy it forward. And then I can just close the original, go back up to Window, Arrange, consolidate all to tabs, and it opens it back up. So this is a nice big image. Know how I can tell? Look at how much bigger it is when I place it than the box it belongs in. This is what you want when you're finding images. You want to find an image that is so nice and big that it fits inside of the box without any problems whatsoever. That's going to show that it's nice and high res for you. I'm going to put it underneath here. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to copy my logo into my cover photo as well. I'm going to, just for branding purposes, I want my logo to be in both places, because in my profile picture, I didn't really get it that big because it's kind of a small box, and I have a horizontal logo, not a vertical and not a square logo. So I really want my logo to stand out. And I'm actually also going to do this. I am going to hit Command T. I'm going to right click. I'm going to flip this image horizontal. There we go. Nobody's ever going to know, because this part of the sky is a little bit whiter. So I feel that my logo stands out better on this side. Next, I need to add in my tagline. So again, go back to your fonts that you chose in your mood board, or your fonts that you were using in your postcard or your billboard. If you don't remember, open them up. I mean, I don't remember from week to week what I've been using. So I'm going to open up week 2. My assessment. Which one is it? Front. And I had Kayak Your Cares Away, which is fine. Oh, whoops, that's a JPEG. Make sure you're opening up the C file. And I can either copy, I can do the same thing. I can either copy this, I can just look and see what my font is, or I can go up to Window, Arrange, tile all vertically, grab that font layer, and just drag it on top of my cover image and close it out. And don't save. Window, Arrange, consolidate all the tabs. There, now I know for sure that I've got the same exact font. I've got pretty much everything the same. And I'll just close up. And if this font doesn't work, you're like, it's just not the right feel, then find what works for you. I mean, you don't have to use the same exact font. And I'm definitely not going to use the same exact tagline, because this makes no sense. Kayak Your Cares Away. There's nobody kayaking in this image. I'm actually going to say, come and see Westport. No character. There we go. I'm obviously going to have to change that font color, because that blue is not showing up over my sand right here. Try like there. Ooh, that's nice. But I'm not really feeling this font for this. So I'm going to look and see what I have. I'm going to try maybe not completely sold on that. That one's a little bit better. Oops. zoom in a little, but I need to change, I want the font to connect. So again, this is where I gotta kind of adjust. I want that O. Let me zoom in. I want that O to connect with the M, just because it looks a little bit better. And I want the O to connect right here with the R. But I want to move the T a little bit farther away. And I'm gonna make the word sea bigger than the rest because it's the ocean. And I'm having fun with the words. And then if you really want to get crazy, you can go in with your pen tool. You'd have to do it on a different layer because this is a text layer, but you can create another layer and try to match. Just go in and try to, oops, way big eraser. Connect those couple of letters that might need to be connected. Right here. And there. Just adds a little bit of something. But what you would want to do is if you do go in and like I did and try to connect those layers, what you're going to want to do is name that layer text connection, I guess. And you'll probably want to link these layers. I would probably put them in a folder together and name it headline text. So that way if you move it, you can move this whole folder and it'll move both layers together. I think that would probably be the best way to do that. And then I'm going to add a little bit of a drop shadow to the folder because I want the layers attached to that. Probably do like a dark brown drop shadow. Just to make it pop off of the beach sand a little bit. There we go. Hit OK. And I have come and see Westport. Got the logo, got my image. I have a little space to move my image over even more. Maybe I'll do it like that. I kind of like how the ocean's gone on, like it kind of follows the line of my logo. And that text maybe right to there. So it's right up next to my profile picture. And that layer that says profile pic occupies, you can turn that layer off before you hit save. So that way that box won't show up. And then you'll do the same thing that you did with your profile picture. You'll just hit save and close it out. And see, it will update it right here in the template. So pretty awesome. Next, what you need to do is you're going to need to add 4 images down here that have to do with your town. So I have 2 other ones right here that I downloaded, And I'm actually gonna go and find some of the images that I had downloaded originally for my billboards. This is a good one. That's a good one. And the kayaking one. So I'm going to grab these three and I'm going to copy them. So I'm going to hold down my Option key. So you'll notice to get the plus sign. So I copy them in. I'm going to copy them into this images folder. I don't want to just move them because I want to make sure I have them in both spaces. And I'll probably use some 4 images. I'm probably going to use the kayaking. This one, the fork in the road, because that's fun. I'm going to rename them so I remember. Fork in road. That one's already called kayaking. This is a fun story. This is actually a picture that's taken in Westport. This is the beach, but in between right here and this house, there's actually this tiny road, and it's just a dirt road that gets washed out every single year. But this big house right here actually used to be owned by Billy Joel. And he sold back when he was married to Christy Brinkley. I do not know why I know this story, but he used to own, and this was the guest house, and this was the main house. You kind of are missing the main house over here, but it's since been sold, and somebody actually owns the guest house and lives in it, and they've taken the main house and converted it into these crazy expensive condos. But it's pretty cool because every time I bring people down here, I'm like, that used to be Billy Joel's house. And they're like, why do you know this? And I say, I don't know. But we call it the Nubble for some reason. Locals call it the Nubble. I don't know why it's called that either. So I'm just going to name it that, and I'll know what I'll know what I'm looking for. So I'm going to do the same thing down here. I'm going to right click, and you'll notice it brings me right to feature box 1 because that's where I clicked. So I want to click on feature box 1, which if you had noticed is somewhere, where is it? There we go, in those sub boxes. So you would have had to navigate through all of these folders to figure out that was feature box 1. I'm going to double click. And again, I have my lovely green layer that I'm going to turn off. And I am going to open up Fork in the Road. I'll do that one first. Go to Window, Arrange, Tile All Vertically. Drag that bad boy in there. Close it out. Window, Arrange. Consolidate all the tabs. I wish that there was a quick key for that. And this image is huge, so I'm going to zoom out. And you want to make sure that you're scaling things proportionally. So you either have to hold down Shift when you start to scale the image, and to get to this, you can go to Edit Transform. I think it's our Image Transform. Transform, Scale, or you can hit Command T, and it'll bring up that bounding box, and you can lock it proportionally up here where the width and the height are. So that might be the easiest for you, and just kind of and then hit enter. And if you hit Command 1, it shows you the size it is. And that's why it looks so low res. When I zoom in, it looks low res because it's actually this size and it is high res. And I'm just going to hit save. And it's going to populate that box right there. And I'll right click on this one and it'll bring me right to feature box 2. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to turn off that green box. I'll make a new layer. Next one's going to be, I'll do the Nubble next. Window, Tile All Vertically. Drag that bad boy in there. Window, consolidate all the tabs. And my Command T, going to lock those width and height. And scale this one down. And you want to make sure that you're staying within, see how it starts to go to the marquee? So maybe be like a little bit outside so you know that it's definitely going to fit within that bounding box, and then hit enter. And save. and close. That one's right there. Do the third one. Turn off my green box, make a new layer. Yada, yada, yada. I'm gonna do the kayaking one this time. Range. Drag it in. Close it out. Oop, forgot to close that one. Range, consolidate all the tabs. Again, Command T. And I think I'm gonna leave it a little bit zoomed in on these guys. Because I think if I zoom all the way out on this one, you're really gonna, that box is so small, you're gonna miss that they're kayaking. So I'm gonna leave it a little bit zoomed in on them. Hit save, close it out. There they are. I'm gonna save this too. Sometimes Photoshop crashes and you wanna make sure that, you got your work saved. And then my last one is gonna be Feature Box 4. Turn off that layer, add a new layer. For this one, use this one, Westport 2, why not? A little bit of a night sky or the sun setting. And arrange again, drag it in, close it. It can get a little bit redundant. Command T, lock my layer, or lock my width and height. Hit save, close that out, and there they are. All right, but you'll notice it says your brand here. We've got all the images in at this point, but now we need to change the default text that's in here. So I'm gonna zoom this back out. Your brand here, you need to change that. So I'm gonna, again, right click, go to the your brand here layer, and I'm gonna double click on the T, and that brings up that bounding box, and you might need to open it up a little bit more. Don't change the font though. I'm gonna change this to Westport MA. Here's the thing, if you need to move the little icon, the blue tick, click on blue tick, and you can just move it back over near your name, or you might need to move it over a little bit this way. But you can do the same thing over here. You can leave it as products and services, where it says your slogan here. There we go. Double click. I'm going to say, come and see Westport, Massachusetts. And I'm going to change the website to www.westportmass.com. And click off. And right here it says your brand. Posted a photo 10 minutes ago, so I'm going to change your brand. Just the word your brand. I'm going to leave the rest of the text there to Westport, Mass, because that's the name of my brand. Posted a photo 10 minutes ago. Click off. I can't remember if you can change, oh, you can change your page. There we go. So right click, Facebook your page. I'm going to name it Westport, Mass. And where it says your item here, your item here, your item here, your item here, I'm going to change that to fork in the road. And they're all kind of in order over here, so I can just kind of keep going. The Nubble kayaking and Horseneck Beach. So you want to make sure that your item here that you're not writing a whole paragraph. You know, just do a couple of words so it's only the length of the actual image that's there. Let's see. So your page title here. One last one. And I'm going to say city, or actually it's a town. Town of Westport, Mass. Right there. And that should be everything. So I've got Town of Westport, Mass, Facebook.com, Westport, Mass. I've got my cover photo here. Changed my profile picture. I've got Westport, Mass. Come and see Westport, Mass, www.westportmass.com. I've added in my 4 photos. I've changed the title on the 4 photos. I changed the title down here from your page to Westport, Mass. Posted a photo 10 minutes ago. You can change the time even if you wanted to. And I'm going to hit File, Save, and I want to save a PSD of this. This is important. Make sure you save the PSD first before you save the JPEG. If you're not sure, this is my go-to. Close out the PSD. Now you know it's saved because it would have given you an error and said, do you want to save this? Open the PSD back up and do a File, Save As, JPEG. Save. And okay. And close. And what you might want to do is in your JPEG, you might want to name it Week 3 Assessment 1, because you need to make 3 of these. So you can name them 1, 2, and 3 in the JPEGs and in the PSD files. So all you will do going forward for the next 2 are you're just going to change the cover image. So you'll go in, make a new cover image, save it, do a File, Save As, number 2, close it, open it back up, File, Save As, JPEG number 2, close it, make your 3rd one with a cover image, save that as number 3, open it back up, save it as JPEG number 3. Then all the rest of this can stay the same. Down here can stay the same. This information can stay the same. Your profile picture stays the same. You are just changing the cover image 3 times. Your cover image needs to be more than just an image. I'm telling you this right now. You will lose points. If you just slap an image in there and call it a day and you have no headline, you don't have any design element whatsoever to your cover image, you will lose points. This cover image needs to be designed by you. That is part of the design piece. Your profile picture should be designed as well. It should be more than just your logo thrown in there willy-nilly. So make sure that you are actually designing these pieces. Close that out. So you would put those 3 JPEGs into a folder, and you can name the folder Week 3 Assessment with just the JPEGs. I don't need your PSD files. And then what you'll do is you'll zip that folder, and that's what you will submit, is one zipped folder with 3 JPEGs in it. All right, so let's move on to making our website. Go to the assignments. You can see I have an assignments folder made, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make an images folder, and there's a good chance that I'm going to use some of the same images that I've already downloaded. So I'm going to go, they're probably going to be the ones that I downloaded for the assessment. So let me open up my assessments, images. Probably be one of these 3 because they're nice and big. Copy them over. There we go. And I need to go back and I need to look and see what my specifications are for my assignment, what the size needs to be, because you want to make sure you get that size correct. So it needs to be 1024 by 768. And again, you need to have at least these 4 navigation links, but you might want to also make a home page, you know, one that says home, so people know how to get back to your home page. It's just good practice going forward. All right. So 1024 by 768. So I'm going to do a new file. It can be web. They do have a 1024 by 768. There you go. So you can do web minimum, 1024 by 768, or you can just manually type this in. And it's okay if it's 72 DPI because we're creating this for the web. And you can either have a white background, a colored background, or transparent background. I like to work on a transparent background. That's just me. I mean, you can leave it at the default of a white background. I just personally like to work on a transparent background. And then as a caveat to that, I like to then create a layer that is a white background. Don't ask me why. It's just one of those little quirks that I like to do, how I like to do things. So if you're wondering and you're like, that is really weird, why would you do that? That is why. I'm going to name this website Westport. There we go. And layer 1 is going to be my white background. Again, make sure you're naming these layers. And I'm going to do an edit fill white. Okay. And you'll notice that everything's in this folder. This is a good thing. Know why? If you were going to make subsequent pages, that's what these plus signs are for. You can make pages off of the pages. You only need to make 1 page this time, but you know, it's pretty cool that this is how Photoshop sets this up now. So it puts together a workflow for you, which is really nice. And you're going to want to save it right off the bat. So go back into that announcement. There we go. And this one's an assignment. Copy and paste that. File, save as. Navigate over to your assignments folder and change it to week 3 and your name. And save often. I can't tell you how many things that I've lost over the years by not saving and saving often. All right, so I have a white background going, but I do want to kind of carry over that subtle background that I made because I just like it, that seashell-y background. So I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to name that layer seashell pattern. So I know what it is, and I'm going to do an edit fill, which I don't know if it's just me. The quick key for edit fill is Shift F5, and no matter what I do on my laptop, I cannot get that quick key to work. It is something else that's already preset on my laptop, and I've gone through, like, it's been years that I've been trying to fix this, and it does not fix, and it drives me bananas. So if you're a quick key person like I am, and I try not to be when I'm showing a demonstration, but like if they just all of a sudden don't work after years of you being used to them working, it will drive you bananas. And that's exactly what is happening to me right now. Let me close that out. So here's my library. So I still got my library here. Just gonna kind of drag that bad boy down and off to the side right there. And I need to start thinking out kind of my grid of where things are going to go. And you will notice that in the assignment, let me go back again. I'm just going to open it up in a new tab. That they gave you some examples. So I am going to show you kind of a foolproof way that you can start to set this up. The Wisconsin one. Remember I said that this was a really good example of how things were located? The Wyoming one was actually a little bit better. There we go. What you can do is take a screenshot. So if you're on your Mac, it's Command-Shift-4. You get those little crosshairs. Take a screenshot just of that web page, right to the edge. And open that up in Photoshop. We're gonna do the same thing, tile all vertically. And just kind of drag it in to your page. And do a Command-T. Again, make sure it's proportional. And kind of start to close it. Your page. Oh. To the edge, come on. That works. Now, this gives you an idea of where to start laying out buttons at the top, images, etc., etc. And if you wanted to see like what else would be there, just kind of scroll down. And you can even take a screenshot of the next row. Just like this. And that gives you something to work with if this is new to you and you've never laid out a web page before. And you'll do the same thing. Make sure it's proportional that where you're scaling it. It's okay that it doesn't exactly fit. This kind of gives you an idea of where the fold is with things. So you can choose to do this if you want, and then you can start to drop some, some rulers, and, you have your header bar right here. You have, this big image is known as your hero image. So you can kind of drop that, and then you can see where maybe you should start to have some text, headline size, and then a good width for your body, because you don't want text, if you notice, let's go back to that page. The text doesn't run from one end of the page to the other. That would be really difficult to read. A good rule of thumb for length of text is no more than 2 alphabets across. So that's how many layers, that's how many layers. 2 alphabets worth of letters across is a good rule of thumb for the width of your text box. So, you can either drop a rule to kind of show you that. I'm going to go from this line to this line, or you can draw your text box. And remember how we were discussing 16-point type, that's a really good point size? I'm also going to, let me see, what am I going to use for font? Typekit. I'm going to use Source Sans Pro just because I think it's available through Typekit. I think that this is a great web font, honestly. But body text, remember, we were discussing this yesterday. 16-point type, anything other than that is a big mistake, according to Smashing Magazine. That layer up here. There we go. And if you're confused as to, how many letters that is, you can just literally type out the alphabet, or you can probably Google the alphabet. I just want the alphabet layers. I could probably have typed them. Really? Really, Wikipedia? I thought that you would have had it. I'll just type it out. I thought that that would be way easier. Apparently, no. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Copy that, space, paste. You probably might be able to get away with 3 alphabets here. I would go with 3 alphabets. That'll probably work. And you can put your examples into a folder and just kind of label it. If you select both layers and go to folder, they'll put them in a group, and you can name it example to follow or something like that. So that way you can turn that layer off and see what's going on. And I'm going to open up that character. Leave that over here. So again, this kind of gives you an idea of where to, start your navigation. So we need 4, at least 4 hyperlinks, but we should probably have a homepage. So you might want to do more than 4. You can kind of, start to set up your grid also this way. Make sure things are centered. So this is how I like to center things. I know it seems like a little bit crazy, but see how I drew my guide here based off of the screenshot? I don't know if that's exact. So what I've drawn is I've drawn a marquee, and I'm going to, start to move it up against the other edge, and I'm pretty spot on. So I can tell that I'm centered, so that's great. But that's kind of a way that you can kind of center things, start at one edge, draw a box, and bring your grid line, and then move that box to the other edge and drop your grid line. I mean, I guess I was like the most minute amount off, but then things within these 2 lines are centered on your page. So it just kind of might help you out. All right, so I'm going to do a top bar, kind of like how they have, because I like this example. So I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to name it my header bar, colored, so that way I know what I'm doing. Basically, I'm going to pick that sand color, and I'm going to run it the full length across. I'm going to hit edit, fill, foreground color. Okay. And if I get, I want to get that in there, but I might also need to still follow this. So I'm just going to turn that off for a minute, so that way I can kind of see what I'm doing. In my library, I'm going to grab my logo, because I need to have my logo to the page. I'm going to move it make sure it's above my header bar. And it's going to be a bit bigger than this logo, but that's okay, because I'm only doing 4 links, so I can make it a little bit bigger. Stand out. There we go. I'm going to turn that bar on again. I want to make sure that they're centered vertically. There. I'll turn that off. Then I'll add my first link. My first link is going to be for the homepage. I know it doesn't tell you to do that, but I think it's a really good thing to do, is to make sure that you have a homepage. And I'm going to drop a guide right at the bottom of Massachusetts. And I want my text to lay up against the bottom of this line, so they're going to be vertically aligned at the bottom, my links, with the bottom of my logo. And I'm probably going to make my links a little bit bigger, but maybe 24 point type. Probably make them bold as well. And maybe dark blue. All right. So I'm going to say home. Make a copy of that. Now, the next one that I need to do is, places to stay. Might need to bring my font down a little. I won't do home all caps. Home, right there. Places to stay. Dining. Copy. Oops. There we go. Events. And last one is shopping. All right, I'm going to turn on my bar again. And the font size is a little bit big, so I'll probably bring it down to like 18. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, trial and error, see what works. All right. Grab all these. I want to make sure that they're distributed. No. No, maybe left edges. No. I might have to manually distribute them. Let me see how much space. Again, I use bounding boxes. Oh, all right. It's gonna move that one here. Bring places to stay over. And bring my home page over. There we go. Turn that off for a second. All right, so those look nice and aligned. And so that way I know, like, people know what page they're on. I'm going to put a little bar over my home page to kind of show that they're on the home page. And what it will do is that will bop, like, you know, whatever page that they're on, the bar will be over. So I'm going to draw a little bar. Right, just like that. I'm going to make it blue. So that way they know they're at the home page. And I'm going to grab, I'm going to call it nav bar. I'm going to grab home, nav bar, all of my navigation in my layers, and I'm going to, again, group them. So I'm going to create a new group by clicking on that folder icon, and I'm going to name this navigation. So this kind of just starts to clean up, you know, my whole header area, or just my web page in general. I don't have 8 million different layers showing because I can kind of start to group things together. I'm going to turn off the header bar again. I think I might do what they did, do a little search icon. So if you go over to Google and do search icon, you can grab one right from Google. Literally say copy image. And make sure you lock that so it scales proportionally. And even though it's gray, you can change it to whatever color you want. Name that search icon. I'm going to throw it in my navigation panel folder. And I'm going to turn on my header bar. And I am going to do a color overlay, blue, 100% normal. And I'm also going to stroke it, whoops, by 1 point, just to make it a little bit bolder and make sure it's the same color, because otherwise that'll look crazy. Outside, color normal. All right, I'm going to just hit OK. I'm going to move it a little bit closer to shopping. It's not just like running off the page there. Turn my All right, and I need to move all of my navigation down to that line that I said I wanted it to run against. And you'll notice I have it lined up with the bottom of the letters, not the bottom of like the Y. All right, so I've got my whole header finished. I might bump up that search icon a little. There we go. All right. So navigation, most part. All right, so now I'm gonna grab my navigation, my logo, and my header bar, and I'm actually gonna put those in a folder, and I'm gonna name it header, because it's the header of my website. I can turn off my example to follow. So I'm going to add a nice big picture, kind of where they've added their Wyoming picture, and I want to use the same one I think that I used for my Facebook page. Let me see. I don't know. I'm kind of torn. Like this part really worked to fit the logo, but that's really blown out right there. What are my other options? It's a little dark. I like this one. I think I might use this one. This is kind of cool. So I'm gonna use that one. Open that up. Okay, I'm gonna do window arrange tile all vertically. I'm just gonna drop it in there, close it out. It's kind of in the way. And bring that down. Scale it, make sure it's. And I don't need the whole image. So I'm gonna move it up a bit. So I want to be aware of where my header ends. Maybe right there. Put my header right above that. And I can choose at this point to add my tagline right here to my image if I want and design something in there, or I can always put something right here too. It's really up to you what you want to do. I think I might add my tagline down here. And yeah, I'm probably going to do that. I'm probably going to add my tagline down there. But I'm going to turn that layer off for now. And I'm really going to just make sure that I'm typing in the same area. And I can actually turn off both of these. So my tagline's going to go right in here. I'm going to continue using my Source Sans Pro. I'm just going to change it to black right here. I'm going to use the blue. And I'll center that. I'm going to say, come and see Westport, Massachusetts. And I've got my nice little subtle background right there going on. And obviously my body copy is not centered underneath it technically, but body copy should be left justified. So what I'm going to do is for my body copy, I'm going to go over to the Westport, Mass actual website. I'm just going to copy and paste a little bit of information about the town. Maybe the history of the town. There we go. I'll copy this paragraph because I don't need to write my own information. There we go. It's all starting to come together. Now, there's one thing that you might want to do, and you can kind of choose to put that. You might want to put it in the header. You might want to create a sidebar even, but you might want to choose to add some social media icons to your homepage because people, visit social media pages right from a homepage. So the way to do that is you need to look up the actual brand assets of each of those pages. And I have added a link in the announcements for you. I added it during week 1. Live session links. Here we go. Right down here, social media logos. So we can open those up. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So what you should do is you should probably view the guidelines first and read how to use them correctly. There are a lot of do's and don'ts, and a lot of it has to do with changing the colors of the logo. So if you are going to use the Facebook logo, you need to use it correctly. You need to download it from the Facebook Brand Resources Center and use it in the correct way that it needs to be used. I am going to find us on Facebook for online, for the guidelines, download. Assets. I'm just going to use the glyph icon. Online. Download. And Twitter. Let me see what color I need. Probably just going to do this one. All right. Grab them out of my downloads. Bring them to my images. And unzip them. And you can just use the PNG file. You'll notice there's all different sizes, so figure out which size works for you. I'm going to try the 144 and see how that is. It works. Next. Use the colorful one. I can tell you right now, this one's going to be huge. It usually is. Every time I download Instagram, it's like ginormous. Yep, there we go. Hold on. And remember how we were discussing logos and using gradients and how it doesn't always work? Look at how this logo is set up. This is a perfect example, and this is a major brand. When you download the logos, the brand assets for them, you can only download a vector version of the black one because there was no way for them to make a colored version vector where that gradient was going to remain consistent. So they ended up having to build their logo in Photoshop, which means you can never use a colorized version of their logo larger than 5 inches by 5 inches at 300 dpi. So this is technically not a well done logo. This is why I'm telling you, don't use gradients in your logo. Look at how they had to set this up. They had to basically mask out the vector version around this gradient that they've created, and there's no way to make a high-res vector version of this colorized logo because that gradient would not scale and remain consistent. So that's why when I tell you not to use logos, or why not to use logos, yeah. Why not to use gradients? This is a perfect example of it right here. This mess of a new logo. Their old logo was not this much of a mess. See, you can see the clipping path that's on there. I mean, this is a nightmare. I'm surprised in a corporate environment that this logo flew. I'm not kidding you. And last but not least, now that my rant is done, Twitter. You want to make sure that they're all roughly the same size, your logos, for your social media icons. I'm going to grab these 3. All right, which one's which? Twitter, gradient. I know that this one's Instagram, and that makes this one Facebook. I'm going to grab these 3. Put them in a folder, and I'm going to name it Social Media Icons. I'm probably going to put them, I'm going to justify them with the search bar. There we go. And I'm going to make them a bit smaller. I don't want them bigger than my actual navigation on my page. So give them a little space too. Come on, open. There we go. So I've got find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I've got my logo. I've got my homepage, places to stay, dining, events, shopping, a little search icon so they can search for something. And this looks like a website now. It looks like a homepage. And all I've done is, create this mock-up in Photoshop. Make sure you save. And you're going to save your PSD. Again, you're going to do the same thing that I always tell you to do. Save the PSD. Close it so you know you saved it as a PSD first. Then you can go back in, open it back up, and do a file, save as, and save it as that JPEG that you need to submit. There you go. And you have a homepage. So I would, like I said, if you've, never mocked up a homepage before, no need to reinvent that wheel. Go in and take a screenshot of the Turkey one's not working, but I think Wyoming is probably one of the best ones to take that screenshot of. Wisconsin just has this extra bar up here with all these other things that you don't really need. But you can see where you can grab both sections, and that way you have a full page above the fold for your website. Again, make sure that you're using the brand assets if you are adding social media icons. And I would add the social media icons, especially the Facebook one. You've made a Facebook page, so you know that your brand definitely has a Facebook page. All right, so let's double check that we have everything that we needed on this. We designed it in Photoshop. We have the navigation bar, all the items. We've used our logo. We've added our tagline. We've kept the feel cohesive with the rest of our campaign. We used top quality images. They were bigger than they needed to be. I had to scale them down, remember? And then it's a 72 DPI JPEG that I just saved because I started off as a 72 DPI file. My dimensions are correct. I've used some concept and creativity. Everything is there, so it's complete, and I'm going to upload it on time. And you notice I was able in an hour and a half, granted I've done this before, but I was able in an hour and a half to get both of one version of the assessment and the assignment done in an hour and a half. So if you can really sit down and get that done, there, you know, it doesn't take long, and it's pretty fun to do. And I'll show you my old version of the website that I've made before. I have two versions, and I'll open those up for you so you can see them. You know, just if you're looking for a couple of other ideas of how to set up a website. So here's one way that I've set it up, where I have used an image, and I've started to clip out the image so I can build the logo in over here nice and big, and I've added the social media icons. That's obviously the old Instagram icon above the logo, and then I have places to stay, dining, events, and shopping. And then I've kind of added a feathered effect to the seashore line and added a really big stylized version of my my headline there, and I've added in an image of a hotel and a description of a hotel. So this is obviously my places to stay page. Then for this one, I have, this is the home page, so I don't have a bar over any of the pages. I have a search bar, like a full search bar. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and Instagram. I've added the Pinterest there. The same, come and see Martha's Vineyard. And instead, I've just got some dummy text there in 2 columns with my, you know, swirly background that kind of goes with my seashore theme as well. And I've added like a little bit of a gradient effect over that background, which was the same thing I could do here. If I really wanted to, I could add like a little bit of a gradient effect. But, you know, I kept it a little bit simpler for this one than I did for this one. But, you know, a couple of different ways that you can choose to lay out your home pages. All right, I am going to get back in to my slideshow, and I luckily we have time, so I can do a recap of last week, going over, you know, because we're designing the web pages this week, so you definitely want to make sure that you're using the, you know, you're thinking through the aesthetics of your web page, you know, you're thinking through the, you know, the beauty of the page, the images that you're choosing, the fonts that you're choosing. You're really thinking through all of these different things and the whole design as a whole. And if you're not sure if everything is working together cohesively, what you can do something as simple as this. Make a folder, like even on anywhere, basically at this point. I'm going to do side by side. Move. Bring your JPEG in of your Facebook pages. Bring your website JPEG in. Bring your front and back of your postcard over. Bring your billboards over. And look at them all. Open them all up. That's the back, front, billboard, Facebook, homepage. So just kind of look at them side by side and say, you know, it doesn't mean that all of your fonts need to be exactly the same, but there's kind of like a theme. There's definitely a color theme that you're following. It's a very seaside color theme. Some of the images are the same, they're throughout. You want it to feel like this is a cohesive campaign. What is the biggest thing that you'll notice though? I'm using this, you need to make sure that you're using that finalized logo that you picked on each and every submission. So it should be the same logo throughout. That's part of your branding. So that's part of like the aesthetic of everything, making sure that everything goes together. All right, so when we were talking about aesthetic yesterday, it is a set of principles concerned with the nature and appreciation of beauty, especially in art. Every design will have some kind of aesthetic. It definitely should have some kind of aesthetic. Whether or not you consciously create an aesthetic for a website, it will have one and people will see it and they will judge it based on the beauty they perceive in it. And they'll also judge it based on whether or not it makes sense to them, that things are where they should be located. Navigation makes sense. Even more, that aesthetic is going to be involved in the communication between site and viewer. You might as well take advantage of the opportunity. So an obvious question you might ask, though, is where should the aesthetic come from? Can it be from anything, or should it be unified with the rest of the design? In this case, it should really be unified with the rest of your design because we're creating a cohesive campaign here. You want to draw, not just with your images and your colors, but also with your headlines that you're creating. You're bringing tourists in. You're trying to bring tourists into your city. So what are you going to say that is going to make somebody visit your city as opposed to going somewhere else on their summer vacation? You're competing with everybody else in this class for those summer tourist dollars. Is how you need to think of this. So what is your marketing campaign to bring people in to your city? We also discussed, how to keep your viewer engaged. There should be a wow moment in the first 5 seconds that somebody goes to your website. So again, go back, open up your webpage and look. Are you wowed by it when you look at it? Are you like, wow, like, that's a nice image, it's nice and crisp and clean, the layout is nice, obviously we can't have any animation in our mock-up, but does it make sense? Is it nice and clean to look at? Is it, do you like the colors that you've chose? These are all things that are part of your wow moment in those first 5 seconds. So we had looked at a couple of different websites yesterday, which I'll open back up again for you. I'll play this one first because we looked at Ice and Sky and how the people come, scrolling in. If you kind of scroll over them, they move just very, very subtly on the screen. See? You can click Discover, and each part of the website has these like very nice animations regarding what's going on. With this great music. Like, this is definitely a website that wows. And this is where all of the pieces come together. Then we looked at Feed Music, which has this like beautiful swirling water in the background. And as you scroll, the text starts to scroll with you. Like it's floating to the top. I still don't know what it's music. I was gonna say, I still don't know what this website does. I'm just always so enamored by the background in it, which is probably not a good thing, but digital mechanism of trust, feed music, technology, tech spotlight, why music. You know, just the way the navigation works is so great. And this is kind of that bar that I was talking about. So you know what page you're on. You're definitely on this page. You know, the scroll effects are amazing. Even when you go back and forth to the, you know, everything was just so thought out on this web page. Close all this stuff up. Then another way to keep your viewer engaged, don't copy. So I had shown you the example where, maybe I can bring it up. I don't know if they've changed their website. We'll have to see. Oh, they did. Maybe they knew that they were part of the people were calling them out. Although, what does I probably can't even spell Louis Vuitton. Let's see if they changed it to also follow them. All right, so this is their new website. No, but it's definitely different now. This is actually freaky. I'm not gonna lie. I think that Sweaty Betty has a far better website now. It's not a knockoff at all. And this is really disturbing. so they actually win. But originally that's how they ended up on this list, was because they had copied, and it was so blatant and it was such a bad ripoff that, you know, people noticed how bad of a ripoff that it was, that they copied that site. So some other tips: incorporate social media into your site. You know, use the Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, maybe even Snapchat logos to direct users to your social media sites from your web page. Make the navigation easy and intuitive. You don't want users to have to think about how your navigation works. So you notice when I created my website, that navigation, the buttons, the placement of them makes sense. Don't, you know, reinvent the wheel with your navigation. Use video or other types of multimedia on your site, slideshows, animation, etc. And let's say that you wanted to do something like that. That can be done quite easily, actually. If you wanted to, let me go back into week 3. Add video, let's say, to your site, like maybe there's a video that plays. You can go to YouTube and kind of do a screenshot of that video, of a video, and kind of like place that instead of an image. You know, kind of show what the multimedia is going to be. Like, let's say that, let me try. Okay, I'll do this one. You know, maybe go to full screen. Take a screenshot. Bring that into Photoshop. And you know, place it like in the middle or something. You know, you can kind of show that, hey, all right, I've got a video that plays on my web page. You know, move that out of that folder, obviously. Oh, that's why I can't see. I could turn this layer off, and you know that shows that there's going to be a video that plays when you load the home page. You know, so a couple of different things that you can do. Maybe you can make a slideshow if you want to show what it looks like. You can Google jQuery slideshow example. Um, Hold on, there's got to be a better image. Something like this, where you can get an idea, you know, that it's a slideshow. So you can you can kind of take a screenshot of one of them and recreate it. You can create the box to show that there's a slideshow and add another image in the back over here and an image in the back over here. So if I wanted to create something like that, again, I can just kind of scale this photo down, center it on the page. I can then grab my other two photos. Drag those in. Top photo. I'll call this one bottom left, so I know where to put them, and bottom right. Make it just a bit smaller. And now we want to make the other photo basically the same size. Yeah. Grab all three of them. And you can just kind of make them darken. No, that wasn't what I wanted to do. No. Oh, I know how to darken them. Do an effect, color overlay, black, 40%, maybe even more. Darken. And just copy and paste, hold down Option and drag that little FX onto the other bottom right one. And now they're darker. And then you can kind of refer back. All right, so it has like a black box with kind of two arrows and then the dots at the bottom. So I can just kind of make that. I'm gonna put these three into a folder called slideshow. I'm gonna create a new layer. I'm gonna say left arrow. At fill black 80%. And oops, my pen tool. No fill. Come on. Do want a stroke though. White stroke, no fill. There we go. So you can kind of see how I'm kind of creating the arrow group. Arrow left, copy that. I'm going to right click on it. Whoops. I'm going to hit Command T and then I'm going to right click on it. And I'm going to say flip horizontal. There we go. And now that is arrow right. And I'll move it all the way over here. And I could just do the dots down at the bottom, showing that there's multiple images. So now I've created a slideshow right there on my homepage instead of just one image. So there's really a lot of different things that you can do, you know, just kind of look to some examples and recreate them in Photoshop, you know, to you know, enhance the overall experience on your homepage. You know, and again, if you're stuck at some point when you're actually creating a homepage, you can always use a platform such as WordPress to help you out with your first homepage. And they have templates that are set up and they'll kind of show you, you know, all right, things need to go here, here, and here because we've been doing this. We know that this makes the most sense. Again, typography is super important on websites too. Don't make your viewer squint to read your ad copy. Use clean, neutral colors. The site will look more clean and professional. Think about the fold in your design. Again, right here is the fold. At the bottom of this is the fold. So this is what will show when a user first loads my page. So I want to think about what's going to show before they scroll down. Pay attention to the little details in your design. Limit your font and colors, have a good logo, and use professional photographs. That means use nice high-res photographs like I showed you how to find. And then again, this goes back to the fold. You know, here is a regular, you know, a desktop website versus the mobile version. But both versions, think about where the fold is and what's going on that you can click in before you get to the fold. Then we went over yesterday separate mobile websites versus responsive websites, and I gave you, you know, my preference, which is responsive. I think that responsive is the way to go these days. But I did show you a couple of examples using the 2012 election campaign and their different websites to kind of show the difference between the two. And we also talked about why do people bother, you know, making sure that their websites work on mobile phones, because there's so many people who access the web now just through a mobile device. And a mobile device can be your tablet, it can be your iPad, it can be your cell phone. You know, people even have smartwatches now that you can use. I mean, there's so many ways to get to the web. You know, out of the 311 million people in the US, about half of US adults own a smartphone, and that statistic is 5 years old. There's probably more now. And then on top of that, 28% of those people only access the web on that mobile device. So they don't even own a desktop anymore. What's more is that people are arriving to the web through more diverse channels than ever before. So I don't know if you've ever done this, but I sign up for Chipotle to get their coupons because I love Chipotle. And when they text you their coupons, they text you a hyperlink. So when you click on that link through the SMS text, it either opens up on your cell phone, and it brings you directly to their mobile device. So that is a channel that users are getting to a mobile device, a mobile website, through an SMS text. If you click on a link in Facebook when you're on your cell phone using the Facebook app, it'll either open it up within Facebook, but it always gives you that option, especially on an iPhone, where you can open it up in Safari on your iPhone. I don't remember if it works the same way. It's been a while since I've had an Android device. But I believe it works the same way. People are just searching with mobile browsers. There's so many different ways that people are arriving at your website these days. So you got to think through that design, and you got to think through that entire web experience. So these are the different ways. QR codes were really big for a while. I don't feel so they're that big these days. I mean, everybody was like, QR codes are the wave of the future. You need to put a QR code on everything. And honestly, they never worked correctly. You had to download a whole separate app. Like I always hated QR codes. Google, definitely everybody's still Googling things. Facebook, people aren't really using, Google Plus anymore, but this graphic's a little old. Twitter, you've got, emails, and then those text links. I'm actually surprised that Instagram has not really gotten on the bandwagon. You can type a link into your Instagram picture, like the description, but it is not a clickable link that will open up outside of Instagram. So you actually have to go into the web browser and manually type it in. And I wouldn't be surprised if pretty soon you can add in those clickable links. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's available to people who pay advertising dollars to them to get those clickable links. And it's probably in the works. Again, we discussed separate mobile websites versus responsive websites. There's no surefire magic bullet at this point to the mobile experience. You really just need to look at what it is that you're designing and how it's working. If there's one lesson to learn from analyzing websites and techniques, it's that building these sites is pretty hard. A lot goes into making a great mobile web experience, and viewing the mobile web as a journey and not as a destination is really essential. Think of how many different cell phones there are out there and how many different screen sizes there are. It's, that's why there's no surefire way to say you need to make it this size and it will work. So as we step into the deep end of multi-device web design, we must strive to continually improve our websites and services in order to better serve our users wherever they may be. Then we also discuss LAN's hierarchy and mobile needs. So at the bottom of the pyramid is access. That's first and foremost. Users need to be able to access your experience. If they can't access it, they're never going to actually have the experience. Next, they need to be able to interact. Basic access to a website is essential, but what happens once the visitor is on your website? They need to be able to interact with the content. So if they get on there and your links on your mobile website are super tiny that their fingers can't click on those links, they can't interact with your website. They're just going to be stuck on your homepage. Then you have the performance link. Performance kind of starts to get the short end of the stick, and it really shouldn't. The result is, when that happens, is bulky mobile design that does not load in 5 seconds, and people tend to navigate away. They are not going to sit there and wait for your site to load. And then you have the enhancement, which is at the top of the pyramid. We don't have to settle on serving a one-size-fits-all experience. Many mobile devices and browsers can do things that desktops cannot, which means, think about it. Think about those apps that can access your camera right from the app. Obviously, you can't do that on a desktop. Access your camera right from there. Not all desktops have a camera, So these are different things that, are little enhancements that make the mobile device better than it might be on a desktop. So those are the things. That's our little recap from yesterday. So again, please make sure that you are working on your discussion question by tomorrow night, and that you're going in there and you are discussing with your fellow students. And I had also suggested yesterday that if you want, you can post some of your mock-ups for your website or your mock-up for your Facebook page in the discussion. If you would like to get some feedback from your fellow students, feel free to do that. You know, and if you see a student who's asked for feedback, give them some good feedback. If you think something's working, tell them why you think it's working. If you think something is not working, explain to them why you don't think it works and offer a suggestion. You know, you guys are here, you're all learning, you know, make it collaborative if you can. And that's a great way for you to collaborate together and to kind of get the best design that you can get. You know, critique each other's work, discuss each other's work. It's really a great journey when you do that together. All right, so make sure that you're getting those discussion posts in. Make sure that you are submitting any and all late work that you have. Again, the discussion posts cannot be submitted late, but you can submit late assignments and assessments. Make sure that you are getting this week's assignment and assessment in on time. If you are not going to be able to get it in on time, communicate with me early. Let me know early. I'm always willing to work with you. All right, well, I hope everybody has a great rest of your day. And if you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to either call me or you can always email me. All right, have a great night, everyone.